Thank you for your calls, for the tickets to the Spectrum Theater. Thank you for your wonderful comments about the program and your enjoyment of it. I'm very happy to bring you this. In the Spirit is heard here on WRPI Thursdays from 11:30 to 4, and we're about ready to introduce to you our next guest, and I want to thank our listeners for being with us today. So our next guest is Dr. Hew Len.
Yes.
Could you, Dr. Hew Len was born and grew up in Oahu, Hawaii. He is a graduate of the, maybe you could tackle this one.
Kamehameha Schools?
Yes.
Yes.
And has a doctorate from the University of Iowa, a Master of Science from the University of Utah, and a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Colorado. Dr. Hew Len's professional experiences include program development and administration for developmentally disabled children and adults, mentally ill male adults, adjudicated as criminals, and individuals and families experiencing problems and stress. Dr. Hew Len is a chairman emeritus of the Foundation of I Incorporated, Freedom of the Cosmos, a nonprofit educational foundation. The work of the foundation is rooted in the ancient Hawaiian process of problem dissolving called self-identity through Ho'oponopono. Haleakala has conducted classes in self-identity through Ho'oponopono throughout the world. He has given 3 presentations at the United Nations. Self-identity through Ho'oponopono is a process of restoring wholeness to the self by letting go of toxic energies and thought forms that cause stress, imbalance, and disease without going 1 inch outside of self. Information on self-identity through Ho'oponopono can be accessed on the internet at www.ho'oponopono.org, and that's spelled HOOPONOPONO.org, and we'll spell that again for you later. And I'm very pleased to have you.
Thank you very much
today on In the Spirit, and have you live in the studio. Would you call yourself a shaman?
Not myself. Other people have done it, but I wouldn't call myself a shaman.
What is a shaman?
Well, I don't know.
Okay, you wouldn't.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me that, man.
Are you associated with a kahuna?
No.
And what is kahuna?
Well, the kahuna in a public sense, used by most people, is the keeper of the secret. Ka in Hawaiian means huna means secret. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Keeper of the secret.
Yeah.
What is the secret?
I have no idea. I'm going to wait to hear any questions you might have.
Okay. Now, the Hawaiian shaman we're talking about is called a kahuna, which means keeper of the secrets. In the old days, there were kahunas who kept the sacred wisdom of everything from seed sowing to canoe building, as well as, of course, healing and spiritual illumination. And Hawaii is now dominated by Christianity, but the traditions of the kahunas have survived underground.
Yes.
You have formed what is called the Foundation of I.
Yes.
Could you explain what that is?
Yeah, the Foundation of I, Inc., Freedom of the Cosmos, is a non-profit organization. Its only purpose is to share with people how they can return to being themselves through letting go. That's basically what we're here to do. So I'm here in Albany to share with people information that they might want to use, how they can restore their identity by letting go of stuff.
Now, you work with people. You've been working in a state hospital for the criminally insane?
Criminally ill.
Criminally ill.
Yes.
I like that better than saying myself.
It's been years since I've done that.
Since you've done that.
But it's all the same.
You were using this method then?
Yes. Yeah.
Was this passed down to you?
I like everybody else. We have this inherent know-how, but we have kind of have it. It's been veiled in intellectualism. Yeah, it's there, but intellect is so powerful that its shade darkens, the lights go off. So I'm here to show people how they can turn the light on. Yeah.
Well, what I'm intrigued about your work, Dr. Hew Len, is that you say healing others is that you don't really do anything to heal somebody. You heal yourself.
Yes. What that says is that if I'm years ago when I worked with folks who were adjudicated as mentally ill and on drugs, what I had to do is basically look at myself, ask myself, what is going on in me that I experience these folks that way? And as I began to work on letting go of whatever created that experience, I healed and they healed and they went home. Yeah.
Yes. So, how is this different from other forms of healing?
Well, let me give you an example. I had an opportunity to talk to an association of massage therapists. And so I showed up, and I began my talk as I heard myself. I always show up to hear myself, because many things are going to be said that I've never heard before. So one of the things I said to them, I'm only here to show you how you can save your butt. You're not here to heal anybody. All you do here is to heal yourself. I'm going to show you how you can heal yourself, and in healing yourself, you can heal your clients. That's all I'm here to do. And so the Ho'oponopono is about realizing, taking responsibility for whatever's going on in you that creates stress, and that you have the choice to let it go. Yeah.
Yes. There were, in one situation where you were working in with the criminally ill, I like the one story where they were in a very abysmal condition, chained up to walls, etc., and this was a given. This was what was considered that's the only way they could handle these people.
I think this is typical of many institutions who tried their best to help people, whether it's hospitals, mental institutions, whether it's schools. But the notion is, what the important idea is that in order for something to change, you must change. It has nothing to do with anything else, but by changing yourself, you change your perception. You change your perceptions, others change. It's just that simple, you know?
Yeah. And so this seems to be something that people are usually motivated on changing others that work in the helping profession, and it is something I think it's hard for people to get their minds around. Yeah. And you mentioned the intellect getting away and all into the way.
I'll give you an example of that. If you look at cardiologists, by the time they're 60 and older, cardiologists have a higher incidence of heart problems than the general population.
Really? Yeah.
And that may be so with radio hosts. That may be so with parents. But the notion is that when you must come to the realization that you're always there when a problem arises. You're never not there. So if you're always present when a problem arises, the question is, what's going on? And for this process, the question is, what's going on in me that I'm experiencing problems? And so you have to get to the cause, because the basic law of cause and effect is, what causes me to experience such? And the answer is simply, there are only two sources for experiences. One, memory replaying, or inspiration. There's no other sources for experiences. There's just no other sources.
Memory replay.
Yeah.
It's like a tape, isn't it?
Yeah. CD, tapes, scripts. So for example, the genetic makeup of our being in ourselves, it's all historical data. So we're old machines running on genetic material that's been accumulated over billions and billions of years. Years ago, a very world-famous biologist was asked, can you tell us something about yourself? His response was, I'm embarrassed because my ancestors began as bacteria. Yeah? So we're connected to all of the forces of the universe through historical experiences. Yeah. So the question is, how do we undo this any historical problem so that we can begin anew? Yeah. Always beginning anew, and the only way you can do that is you have to clean the slate. It's like Jesus said, "Blessed are the pure in heart," which means you come from nothing. That's the way the universe started. And out of this nothingness comes this wholeness. But wholeness cannot come out of memory. Yeah.
Wholeness has to begin in the present moment.
Wholeness, I think we need to be more clear. Wholeness has to come out of nothing.
Nothing.
When you say the present moment, you're actually talking about time. But when you are yourself, you are timeless and eternal. Time and space are just historical artifacts. And the Ho'oponopono is about releasing the artifacts so that you can be yourself, and in being yourself, have this inspiration come through you. Because you're a medium to which this inspiration can come through. But if you are veiled in memory, it cannot come through.
I can understand that. And it's really challenging here because the mind wants to grab hold of this.
I'm sorry?
The mind wants to grab hold of this and make something of it. Try to understand it.
Yeah, we have to be even more clear. I think clarity is so important. So the question I would like to ask you and your audience: who makes the decision in your life? I mean, when you get up in the morning or you go to work, who makes the decisions for you to get up and go to work? That's what I would ask people, because most people talk about the mind as something to be improved on, or no, the mind is not the problem. The problem are the historical artifacts. The mind is perfect. The mind cannot experience that perfection when it's darkened by historical artifacts, which are memories replaying. The mind is perfect. The mind is like a canvas, a plain canvas. Now the artist is going to paint on that canvas. If there's a mistake made, then you can erase it. Yeah. Can't improve on the mind. The mind is like Shakespeare said. The mind is the theater. It's where it all happens. You're not cleaning up the theater. You're cleaning up the players, which are the memories dancing across the stage. Yeah. So
when something is getting in the way, you see it across the slate. And when you
the slate is the background.
The slate is the background.
Yeah.
So then the movie that's playing on the slate, or the images that are running across, when you've cleaned it, you're more able to see that. When
you clean it, what happens is the mind goes back into the void or zero. The mind is now zero because nothing is playing, so the mind is silent. So as soon as you let go of the memory, the mind goes back to its original form, which is eternal, timeless, silence. And then out of that silence will come this inspiration. And the inspiration comes from the source, whereas memory comes from the subconscious. So the mind is like an echo chamber. When a tape plays anger, the mind echoes that. That's where the experience comes from. But memory is just an artifact. And that's what creates the diabetes, the heart problem. It's the artifacts, and not the mind. Yeah.
So the artifacts, can they be dissolved?
The artifacts can be transmuted. So you can take a memory, which is just a template, and then you can actually have that memory transmuted to nothing. It just goes boom, and then it leaves the mind in its place. So the mind now is back to zero, or the void, and it's out of the void that the infinite can come.
Yes.
So, for example, before I came to see you, I've been working on anything going on in me that your audience and you would experience as stress. I'm working on that so that I come in peace, because that's what we're here to do. Our only purpose is to be at peace with ourselves. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
So do you, when we're at this point where we're at peace, then we know what to do?
No, when we're at peace, it happens automatically. So we're not we just know, after something's done, we go, wow, that was incredible. But it's an afterthought. So when you're yourself and the information, the inspiration comes through, you're already experiencing, and you can't go, oh, I'm experiencing it. You're part of it. You're already this wholeness, and you're moving across the stage as light. And so the light doesn't say, oh, I'm light. The light just experiences being light. So it isn't that there's an acknowledgement of it. It's just that you're into it.
You're into it. It's who you are at that moment.
Absolutely. So, for example, at this hospital that I was working at, the toilets and the showers used to come on at night with nobody on it. And so nobody on it. The showers would flush, the toilets would flush the showers. And as we began to take responsibility for that, they stopped. And then we found out later that hospital was once a tuberculin hospital, which means a lot of people died, yeah.
Yes.
That means you have earthbound spirits, you have all these things wandering to the wards. And so those can be released, yeah.
Yes, thank you. You say in the beginning you were created perfect.
You were created perfect. You were created zero.
Zero.
Yeah. That's who you are. You're zero, which means on the other side of zero is infinite. So the yin and yang of life is being zero and infinite at the same time. That's who you are. That means that who you are is everything and nothing at the same time. Yeah.
Everything and nothing at the same time.
Yeah. That's who you are.
What are we light?
I'm sorry?
Is this the same thing as saying that you are light?
It's the same thing as saying, let me ask you, when somebody says that's, for example, the scientists have problems with zero. I mean, nobody says zero electrons. But when you're back to zero, there are no electrons, no light. It's just absolute silence, absolute eternity. You can't. There's no such thing as light. It is out of the silence that the light comes. It's called inspiration. But it has to begin in the void of your mind. Now, we rarely are in that state. So most of us you can't grasp this. Most of us can't grasp this idea that we are void or zero and infinite at the same time. The intellect does not have the capacity to grasp that. Yeah.
How does one? This may sound like an oxymoron. How does one attain it?
By letting go of memories,
which is non-attaining, right?
What?
Letting go, which is not non-attaining. I mean, it's not adding on.
That's right. What you're doing is, like, for example, on your computer, you have a trash bin. So you keep dumping things in there. At some point, you trash it. So in the mind is like a huge trash bin. It's just filled with garbage. And so this cleaning empties it. So you're emptying it. As you empty it, then it's now free to accept the light, which is the inspiration. But when you empty it, that means it's void. Nothing. See, that's a very difficult concept for us to come to an appreciation of, because it can't be understood. It can only be appreciated. Yeah.
Yeah, so when we try to understand it, we're using our mind.
When we try to understand it, we're not using our mind, we're using our memories. So thinking and intellect, when we think and analyze, we're using artifacts, which are memories. I mean, look at the computer. Computer uses artifacts, which are memory templates. So it's not doing its own thinking. It's stuck in the template. So the Ho'oponopono is about erasing the template, taking you back to zero and infinity, and now you're at that point in which you can let the light go through. It's like Jesus said, or people like Jesus said, you can't serve two masters. You'll either have to serve the darkness, or you have to, which is memory playing, or you have to serve the light, which is the presence of divinity coming through as inspiration. Inspire means to like the word Hawaii means, ha in Hawaii means the breath of God. Y in Hawaii means the water of God, or the water. And then E means God itself, or what I call Kai, the source. So Hawaii means the breath and the water of the divine. But in order to receive that, you have to be empty. You have to be zero. It can't come otherwise. an intellect you cannot bring the light into the intellect. It's not possible.
So is that zero the same as spirit?
Zero is the same as nothingness.
It's nothingness.
Yes.
And it is the clean slate in which the light can emerge.
Yes. The light is that experience of the divine.
The divine wants to work through us. Okay.
I don't know what that means. Yeah.
Well, that's good, because whatever statement I make,
I don't know what.
I don't know either. So I'm working with you.
What happens is that if you were created infinite and void, and whatever created you, that means you have that relationship. In other words, whatever created you, you're a replication of whatever. So whatever created you was infinite and void to begin with. So now, once you become infinite and void, you line up with everything, and that which is created you can then send you this impulse called inspiration. And you don't have to understand. The nice thing about this process, we've had thousands of people take it, and they review it time after time, and nobody understands this stuff. But what they do is they have experiences of being more peaceful. They have relationships that are more calming and supportive, as opposed to being wild. We have people who are therapists who have a much easier time. I have a friend of mine who's a therapist in Hawaii who works psychology. Much easier time, less energy, less time. Because you can get the intellect out of the way, which is artifact.
Okay.
Intellect is an artifact.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. We're speaking with Dr. E. Haleakala Hew Len, and about the self-identity through Ho'oponopono. And there'll be a free introductory lecture and basic one training presented by Dr. E. Haleakala Hew Len, PhD, at the Comfort Inn and Suites at Saratoga 2 room, it's called, 1606 Central Avenue on Route 5. And the phone number for contact is 518-869-5327. That's 518-869-5327. And we're going to be right back after this station break. Thank you for being with us today on In the Spirit.
10,000 watts of pure alternative radio. This is 91.5 WRPI Troy.
You are listening to WRPI Troy. This is In the Spirit. I am your host, Gary Goldberg. We're speaking with Dr. E. Haleakala Hew Len, and we're talking about self-identity through Ho'oponopono. And Dr. Hew Len writes, when you are your divine self, you cannot be denied anything that is perfect, whole, complete, and right for you. When you are your divine self, you experience perfection through divine thoughts, words, deeds, and actions. Also, toxic energies prevail when imperfection in the form of disease, confusion, resentment, depression, and poverty appear. Self-identity through Ho'oponopono is a process of letting go of toxic energies to be your divine self. The invitation here is you can attend a free lecture on Friday night, November 5th. That is tomorrow night from 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And then this weekend following is Basic One training, Saturday and Sunday, November 6th through the 7th from 9 to 4 on Saturday and Sunday. And we won't talk about fees here, but we can say you can find out more by calling 518-869-5327. And the free lecture attendance, by the way, is a prerequisite to the Basic One class. Contact Rose Marie Judge. And you can also contact her by email at rosemariej@earthlink.com. and I will continue to inform you about that throughout the day. And the time is 2:33. Dr. E. Haleakala Hew Len, thank you.
Sure, thank you for having me. I love your weather.
Today is a particularly cold one.
I love the weather.
Yeah. At the lecture, what can people expect to hear?
I think they'll hear some information on the most fundamental question in the cosmos, and that is, we will look at the question, who am I? That's because when people have problems, unless they have an appreciation of who they are, they will never solve it. They may control it, they may do it, but they're not going to be able to let it go. And then the other thing we're going to answer is the question, what is a problem? Those are two and then we're going to answer the question, how can those problems be solved? So who am I, what is the problem, and how the problem can be solved? Yes, that's what I'm going to be covering.
Well, that's great.